First book of Psalms. Blessed is the man who walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in his law, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be likened unto trees that are planted by the rivers of living waters, that bringeth forth its fruit in its season. Its leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Now that pertains to the righteous. Now here we go. It says, the ungodly are not so. The ungodly or the wicked are not as the righteous. The ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. But the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. The Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, because the steps of the righteous are ordered by God. The way of the ungodly shall perish, because there is a way that seemeth right unto man. That's the word of God. But the end thereof leadeth to destruction, leadeth to damnation. Doing it our way does not work perfectly. When we do it our way, the end is not good, the results are not good. But when we walk in obedience and do it God's way, walk in obedience to his word. If you love me, keep my commandments. Obedience is better than sacrifice. The word of God is a lamp unto our feet. If we allow the word of God to direct us and to lead us, and we walk in obedience to what his word commands us to do, we have life, we have joy, we have peace, we have happiness, everlasting life. Only in him alone. The Apostle Paul wrote in one of his writings, we cannot comprehend the things God have in store for those that love him. Jesus said, in my Father's house are many mansions. He said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Don't be discouraged. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. And I'm going to prepare a place. And if I go, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that wherever I am, you are also going to be with me. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard the things God has in store for them that love him. On this side of life, we see some beautiful places that God has given man the knowledge, wisdom, understanding to build with their hands. Imagine if God can allow man to build beautiful things on this side that we desire and love and admire. Imagine what God can do. The word of God is here for us to read and to feed on, because man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. The word of God is food for our souls. As the natural, so is the spiritual. The physical food we eat to sustain the natural body, but the word of God is the only thing that can sustain our spirit or our soul. We need the word of God. We continue on. Verses 14 to 43 talks about Paul and Barnabas at Antioch of Pisidia. When you begin to read through these verses, to sum it up briefly, Paul and Barnabas was in Pisidia, and they went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down. After reading the law, the prophets and the rulers of the synagogue said unto them, Ye men and brethren, this is verse 15, if ye have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. Paul stood up and began to speak, saying, verse 16, Then Paul stood up and beckoning with the hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear God, give audience. Pay attention. Paul began to expound, going back to the Old Testament. Paul reminded them that they were strangers in the land of Egypt, and God delivered them with a mighty hand and brought them into the promised land. Remember, they were in the wilderness for 40 long years. While they were in the wilderness for 40 years, God raised up judges that judged them, and kings. God raised up judges that judged them for a span of 450 years until Samuel the prophet. When they requested to have a king, God gave them Saul, and after a span of 40 years, God gave them King David as their king. The Hebrews were not as other nations were. The other nations had kings, but God raised up judges to judge Israel and to show them the way they ought to walk and to adhere to his laws, to his commandments. But then they told God through leaders that they want a king. They want to be like the other nations. So God gave them the desire of their heart. God gave them King Saul. And after King Saul died, God gave them David. David was not only a king, but he was also a prophet too. The Lord allowed him to write messianic psalms pertaining to his death, pertaining to his resurrection as well. And Paul began to expound, letting them know David died and David saw corruption, but the one that God promised that came through the lineage of David, Jesus, never saw corruption. And David prophesied about that.